He has 4 fingers, he has 3 fingers, and from there you begin to make the decisions about which animal passed. Africa has been playing with mathematics for a very long time. I was telling somebody about how to count Yoruba, how to count in my language. You don't count in tens in my language, you count in twenties. For some of you that understand, we call it Ogun, Ogoji. So if I want to say 20, I'll say Ogun. If I want to say 30, if I want to say 40, Ogomeji. Which is Ogoji. If I want to say 60, it's 60 times 3, which is 20 times 3. And for the first 1 to 5, when you are counting in between, when you are counting, you had it, and the last 5 to 10, you minus it. Now, for those of you who don't understand my language, who are not from my side of the world, you will not understand it. But even some people that are from my side of the world, they find it very difficult to understand the counting. That's why many people knows how to read the language, but they don't know how to count in the language. Because you need to be mathematically savvy. Your arithmetic must be very good. Your addition and subtraction must be very good. However, the mathematical ability was evident in many of the Egyptian construction. Because you can't construct any of these pyramids without being very, very good in geometry. Because when they are constructing, they are not only constructing it to make it look nice, they are also aligning it with the stars and the moon. They are busy aligning it with the stars and the moon to make sure that it's in the right direction, it's in the right order. So not only are they struggling with the heart and the material they are using, they are also trying to align it. Because to us it's a fine object, but to them it's a sign of worship. And it has to be in a dimension to the sun. Let's continue with mathematics. Most of the ancient mathematical documents available are Egyptian papyri, and some of these mathematical documents are 2000 before Christ. That means Egyptians have learned how to use ancient Egyptian mathematicians have known how to use mathematics, and they created a formula. There are two that have become very popular: the Ring Mathematical Papyrus and the Moscow Mathematical Papyrus. Isn't it ironic that a Scottish man came and bought Egyptian papyrus and he named it Ring, as if it's from Scotland, and the Moscow Egyptology came and bought Egyptian calculation and call it Moscow mathematics. In relation to come now, the automatic this will be absorbed. It will become as if it's Moscow. It originated from Moscow, and that's how many of the African history have disappeared over time. People will take it initially, name it, call it like Alexander Henry Rhind. When he bought this, he named it Rhind Mathematics. He took it to his country, in Scotland. The guy from Moscow came and took it. After a while, they will absorb it, and after a while, they will have forgotten where the origin came from. And that's how, again, many of the African history disappear, or people absorb it to become theirs. Many of these mathematical, they're not just paper, they contain complex problems in arithmetic, algebra, and geometry, and the different methods of solving them. So they not only analyze, they find solution to it. Ancient Africa understood the basic algebra and geometric concept and could solve simple states, simultaneous equation. You know, when you calculate circle, they call it 3 pi r square. It was the Egyptian that estimated the area of a circle by subtracting 1/9 from its diameter and squaring the result. That's how you get your pi r square, which is approximation of the formula. So you could see that not only are these people physically endowed in doing things, they are also very logically well endowed. Paper. Paper is another product that came from the ancient Egyptian that many people take for granted. The name paper was from papyrus writing material, and it was manufactured in Egypt 4000 BC before Christ. That means 2000 years before Greek, and 3000 years before Romans. African have been writing. African Egyptian have been writing, and they've been writing. The material, the papyrus was an aquatic plant that was indigenous, the Nile Delta area. And basically they would cut it, they would chop it, make it into powder, and lay it out and it's smoothened, and they write on it. It was later adopted by the Greek and the Roman Empire. And that's the history of paper. Institution. It's quite amazing when many English people say that when British people say that one of the things they did for Africa was they bring education to Africa. I think it cannot be more wrong, because the oldest and the first university in the world was in Timbuktu, Mali, and yet it has existed as far back as 12th century. Now in my picture here, this is University of Sakori in Mali, 1220. This is University of Oxford, 2022. Between the two of them is 1,000 years. So if you visit Oxford University or Harvard University or Anju Hall, go to Sakori and you will see that a university is 1,000 years older. This is not just a school for the Arabics, it is an Arabic school, contrary to what many people say. They produce scholars up to PhD level. And they have the largest collection of manuscripts, about 600,000. And some of these manuscripts are now in London, Paris, and other libraries or private ownership. This University of Sankore taught subjects like medicine, surgery, mathematics, physics, astronomy, philosophy, language, history, geography, art. The people of Timbuktu they regarded education very seriously, and they take it very seriously. As a matter of fact, the UNESCO World Heritage added Timbuktu into World Heritage in 1988. One of the reasons why I put this United Nations, UNESCO, Guinness Book of Records is that for some of you that want to study more, because this book is not the end, it's just to open our eyes to some of the historical facts. Medicine. Ancient Egypt, again, they established for medical school. And this is not just a herbalist school. This is the practice specialist, the practice of specialists evaluating symptoms, treating illness through surgery, medicine, and monitoring progress. Actually, this document, very important, Edwin Smith Surgical Papyrus, it was dated back to 2,500 BC and focuses on bone surgery and external pathology, covering 48 cases. They are written and well documented, proved and well documented. And some of these treatments are still being used even up to today in our hospitals. So the systematic approach of Smith Papyrus was later transferred to other countries. And here we have NHS, and we have all other big hospitals. Easy. But we're going to go into glass. Glass is one of the ancient things that was created. It was one of the oldest and most important man-made material. The very origin of glass can be traced back to Egypt, 350,000 BC. I want us to be looking at these dates because one of the things that these days shows us that there are 2,000, 3,000, not just 50, 70 years, 2,000, 3,000 years before Europe even started developing at all. While Europe was still in the Dark Ages, while they are suffering from different plagues, Africa was already making ground. Egyptian glasses started first of all as a bead. Then they moved to making alabaster glass bottle, and later become big alabaster oil. And later they discovered that they can blow into the gas, and that's how they started making different kind of shape. Now, when you go to most of the advanced countries, most of the houses are built in glasses. But when you enter some of the, don't just marvel at the architect, don't just marvel at the design, marvel about the people that created the glass, that created the original glass that was eventually used to make this product. Time will not allow us to tell about the different architects in Africa. People tell us that a lot of people want to know what kind of what I've done here is to lay different kind of architectural work that has happened in different parts of Africa. This is a pyramid in Sudan 4,500 years ago. The walls of Benin 1,500 before Christ. The mosque in Mali 1327. Zimbabwe Chronicle House 1,000 years ago. Kenya's ruin, a city. Egyptian mosque in Tunisia. Pyramid of Egypt. Pyramid of Giza in Egypt 5,000. Mosque of Tunisia 700 AD. What this map shows is that all of development was happening in different parts of Africa, not just in Egypt. And each one is using different materials that are available to them to maximize the environment. Now I'm going to quickly talk as I begin to round up my the next few slides. I'm going to talk about some of these things that are far-fetched, but I'm going to bring home now some product that we use day to day that we can't do without, that was created by ancient Africa, which many of us will not even think twice that it has its origin from ancient Africa. A good example is cola nut. Coca-Cola and Pepsi are the most recognizable beverage in the world. Pharmacists John Pemberton and Caleb Bradman were credited for inventing this soft drink. But the key ingredient of that soft drink, which make it soft drink, is called cola nut, and its origin is in tropical rainforest of West Africa. When I was growing up, I saw trees of cola nut like this. You climb on top of it and you pull it down, and this is how it looks like. When they extract the caffeine, they turn it into cola nut. The domestication of cola nut was done by ancient West Africa 7,000 years ago. In Africa, cola nut is regarded as a sacred and is social and of social significance. The nuts are very rich in caffeine, and they serve as a flavoring agent for many soft drinks and addictive in energy drinks. So anytime you drink Monster, anytime you drink Red Bull or you drink Coca-Cola, whether Zero Coke or Full Coke or Classic Coke or Classic Pepsi, the key ingredient that make you to want to drink it more, the key ingredient that makes you to be active when you finish drinking it, apart from the sugar, is called caffeine, and it's from cola nut, which was domesticated by ancient Africa 7,000 years ago. Right now, Coca-Cola employs 61,000 people around the world, and they make $35 billion. So the next time you drink your next beverage, think about cola nut farmer in Nigeria. Palm oil. Palm oil is another interesting product that you use every day that you will not be aware. You use it in form of your shampoo, in form of your toothpaste, in form of your detergent, in form of your cleaner. In fact, you cannot go through a day without using palm oil product more than 8 to 10 times a day. Even when you go to food shop, any food that you have that has fat component, so that chocolate, biscuit, peanut butter, ketchup, ice cream, they all have palm oil in them. Actually, don't be deceived. Anytime you see vegetable oil, it's an interesting name that they used to call they use to call palm oil. I know that palm oil recently have been turned into a wrong product by many people. It's quite an interesting story because palm tree was originally in Africa, where I grew up from in West Africa. Palm oil grows up just like that. You don't even need to plant it. It just perpetuates and grows by itself. In 1960, after the independence, the Malaysian people came to Africa, to Nigeria, to come and learn how to grow palm tree because they knew that the British were buying a lot of it during the colonial era, and our weather is very similar. So we taught them how to do how to grow palm tree, and they went back to their country. But what they did was not so strong, not the palm tree. Because basically what they did was that they took their own forest, they cleared it and started planting palm tree that is not originally from there. And before you know it, they plant millions of acres. And right now, despite the fact that palm tree is not indigenous to Malaysia or to Philippines, they are the largest. So many people assume that it's destroying the environment, and so be careful. It's not the palm oil that is destroying the environment, it's the way people are cultivating it. If you want to cultivate an environmentally friendly palm oil, come and plant it in Africa because it grows there naturally and it has been surviving. Right now, human beings consume 7.7 kg of palm oil per person every day. And it has been staple food for the last 5,000 years. It was domesticated and has been a staple food in Africa and ancient Africa for the last 5,000 years. 33% of the global oil used around the world is palm oil, and is a highly sought product by British trader during the industrial age. They call palm oil the industrial lubricant for machinery during the British Industrial Revolution. Companies like Unilever, Mist, Sunlight, Lever Brothers, all become billionaires, become household goods by importing and using this product. Coffee. Coffee is another interesting one. If you ever wonder where this stimulant originated from, archaeology has traced the ancient coffee to forests of Ethiopia as far back as 10th century. History says that there was one goat herder called Mr. Caldi. He was herding his goat, and he discovered that anytime his goat hit this berry, they are always very active, always jumping up and down. That's Mr. Caldi. They are always jumping, very energetic, and they won't sleep in the night. So he decided he took some and he took it to the monastery. And the monastery, they boil it and they drink it. And the people in the monastery realized that they are able to do night vigil. They are able to stay awake during the night vigil anytime they drink it. And the rest is it. The rest now is the story. The rest now, as they say, is the history. About 30 billion coffee sales all over the world now worth more than 30 billion. 2 billion cups are consumed daily. And average American consumes 3.1 cups of coffee. But I want to say this, especially the Americans that love coffee. I know UK you like tea. Anytime you visit Starbucks or Costa Coffee, or anytime you put a kettle on and you prepare a cup of coffee in your house, remember Mr. Caldi, the goat herdsman in Ethiopia. Rice is another product that was of African origin. There's an African rice that is particularly very durable, that grows in Africa, and it's unique in that it's more nutritious than the Asian rice. Unfortunately, one of the problems with Africa is that we've done our own rice, and we've imbibed a foreign taste of Asian rice to the level that Africa now imports 5.6 billion worth of rice from Thailand alone every year. Not knowing that our Asian father realized that we might need to eat rice, so they domesticated a kind of rice that is very durable, that can grow, that is very resistant to Baltic and abiotic stress, that can compete with wheat, that can do better than Asian rice, especially in Africa. And at this stage, one of my advice to African countries, especially in the light of what is going on with Ukraine and Russia, and what is going on in India with problem with rice production, we should start cultivating our African rice. It's called Ozaza glanarina. And start cultivating so we can feed the people. Our ancient African father have thought about it. They knew that at some point we're going to need to eat rice, and they've domesticated one that is suitable for our land. It's about time we start paying attention. Finally, I started this presentation by saying that the greatest challenge facing African diaspora, both at home and around the world, is the scarcity of knowledge about ancient African history that is passed on to the next generation. And that is one of the things that this book aims to do. It aims to begin to start making us to start thinking about our history and be proud of it. We have a lot of positive history. This book proves that the ancient people of Africa, like so many other ancient of the world, had great men and women who did great exploits and made significant contribution to the world civilization. This knowledge should help young people growing up around the world to feel confident, reassured that they are descendants of people from ancient, rich and elaborate cultures that created a wealth of technology in many areas. Dr. Asad Eli said the education of African people is an urgent necessity. It is a matter of life and death. We cannot afford the risk of another generation of children who have no identity and are ignorant about Africa. And because of in the course of my presentation, I emphasize why it's so important for a young black person to have knowledge of his positive history, because it helps them to build resilience. And whether you like it or not, in the course of living, you're going to be faced with hardship. And when you face this hardship, is your resilience that will determine. And what will determine your resilience is how much you know not only about yourself, not only about your family, but also about the previous generation. The late Professor Amos Wilson, who is an educationist, said, the purpose of education is not just to get a good job with great companies. The real purpose of education is to improve and further the interests of one's own group, community, and race, and to ensure its survival. The Indians, the Chinese, the Jews, and the cultural and other cultural groups have understood the importance of their history, and they have worked extremely hard towards educating their children about their history from their perspective. However, African people have often looked at this cultural group, that is the Indians, the Jews, and the Chinese, and marvel at their unity and wonder why it is contrast to our own community, which seems so fragmented and disorganized. This quote was from Franz Count Volney. He's an Egyptologist, a confidant of President Benjamin Franklin of the United States. He explained the conundrum of Africa in his book, The Ruins of Empire. This is what he has to say. He said, in Egypt, I saw age-old monuments and temples lying half buried in the sand, and I pondered the meaning of civilization, its rise and its fall. And I said to myself, how is it that the people now forgotten are the one who discovered, while others were yet barbarian, the elements of art and science? A race of men now rejected from its society for their dark skin and frizzled hair are the ones who founded the study of nature, those civil and religious systems which still govern the universe. He continued, the Greeks had always given credit to the origins of their knowledge from Egypt, Africa, and they had evidence of the Sphinx, which featured clearly etched in the African mold, confirmed it. Was it not one of the cruelest irony of history that people who had given the world civilization were now slaves and outcasts? I think that's a food for thought for us, that we have history. We have rich and elaborate history that we should be proud of. I'm happy to take any question. Thank you.